Hey guys, good morning and welcome to Morning Musings. I hope you guys are all staying warm this morning because it is freaking cold out. I don't know what the rest of the country's doing, but we're at 44 degrees down here in Southwest Florida. And for us, that's cold. I mean, really cold. Um, I see my buddies in there. Klaus Marshall from Paradise Quail. Glad you could join us, Klaus. Haven't seen you around in a while. As a matter of fact, I want to talk to you. We need to get you back on another Katernik's Corner live stream. Um, Other than that, guys, I don't have a whole lot going on this morning. I do got some stuff that I've got to get to out in the shop, so this probably won't be a very long live, at least not like last week. I think we went an hour and a half long last week, so I'm probably going to pull the plug a little bit early on this one just so I can. I got so much work out there I got to get done. I do have, it's not quail related, but I have silky chicks hatching. I've got out of 9, I've got 5 of them in the brooder right now, and I just noticed this morning that one more hatched out, but it looks a little bit weak, and it's still got part of the yolk sac attached to its belly. So I hope it makes it. And there's another 3 eggs that aren't showing any sign of anything. It's been so long since I've hatched out chicken eggs that I'm kind of at a loss for what to expect. I had I had 3 eggs that aren't showing any signs of pipping, and I think I'm on day let me see, day 23, 22 or 23. So, but anyhow, if any of you guys that are familiar with hatching out chickens, is it okay, the one with the yolk sac kind of hanging out? I know with quail, um, I have had a couple hatch out on quail that had the yolk sac still attached and wasn't all absorbed yet. So I'm just wondering on chickens. Like I say, it's been a while since I've done chickens, so uh, kind of new to to what to expect again. Also, as far as what's going on with me, I will be getting back into quail really soon here, or at least get some hatching eggs going. I got my cages for out back set up in the software that I'm using to design the cages. Actually, building them won't take long. It's just a matter of getting the design that I want. Um, Biggest thing I'm worried about being down here is our summertime rains. We get a lot of heavy rain in the rainy season, and I'm kind of worried. I don't want uh, the quail to get soaking wet and everything in the cage to get wet. So I'm kind of working on that. It's totally different than from keeping them indoors. I mean, indoors I never worried about it. The only thing I had to worry about was keeping the quail room cool enough in the summertime so my quail weren't overheating. But yeah, other than that, I should be if I can talk one of my sponsors into donating some hatching eggs, I should be back into quail here pretty shortly. I do want to announce, guys, we got a live stream coming up Tuesday on the Katernik's Corner Live, and that's going to be with Michael Rose and Rebecca Lynch. They're going to be talking about celadons, breeding celadons. So mark that on your calendar. It's going to be a really interesting live. I believe right now, if I'm not mistaken, I think Rebecca is out there in Arizona visiting Michael Rose and, checking out his setup and whatnot. I haven't heard much out of her since she got on the plane heading north, or heading west. So, all right. That's about it out of me. I guess I could jump over in the chat room and see what's going on. And like I say, I hope you guys are staying warm because I see a whole bunch of temperatures popping up here that don't look very inviting. There's my buddy Tony. He says, morning all. Joining us from Lehigh Acres, Florida. Glad you could join us this morning, Tony. Dragon Girl's in the house says good morning. Andy Rabbit's in the house says good morning. And Andy, I did not get my normal, well, actually I didn't check, but I'm going to check right now. Usually I get an email reminding me to go live on Sundays because sometimes I wake up and it just totally slips my mind. Tattooing Granny says good morning. Cool. Nice name. Klaus, good morning, everyone. Enjoy your coffee, you all. Absolutely. I'm glad you could join us, Klaus. I don't know what time it is over there in the Netherlands, but I'm glad you took a minute to join us. Fonz in the house says good morning. Jennifer says good morning from 5-degree Iowa. Yeah, it is. I keep seeing the temperatures all throughout the the Midwest and well, pretty much the entire United States, and it's cold. I don't know how those people did the caucus out there without freezing to death. Andy Rabbit says hello to Klaus. Mika, 44 in Naples, Florida, about the same as we are. It's kind of chilly. Don's in the house. Says good morning from South Mississippi. Glad you could join us, Don. Tattooing Granny says newbie eggs hatching as I text. Cool. Hope you get a good hatch rate. That's what I'm hoping for. I actually have. I think I kind of jumped in over my head on these Silkies, but I've got my Rhode Island Reds that I got from Carrie Blackman of Double R Farms. I got them out in the aviary. They're doing really good. And then I've got, like I say, these Silkies here in the incubator. They're hatching out now. So yeah, and then hopefully we'll be cooking up some quail eggs here before long. GIS Earp says a balmy 12 degree morning in Birmingham, Burr. That is cold for you guys. Oh, Mark's in the house. Says good morning. Morning, Mark. Glad you can make it. And he says congratulations on the hatchlings. Thank you. Like I say, I'm kind of not new to it. I've hatched out chickens before, way back in the day. It's been a while, so. Yeah, I mean, they seem to be doing all right. It's like I say, I don't know how long to give them. On quail, I would go to day 18. If they didn't hatch out by the end of day 18, I pulled the plug and I was done. But I've always heard people tell me in the chicken game, you want to give them a little bit extra time, just to make sure that all the viable eggs do hatch out. So I don't know. Like I say, if you guys know, let me know. Let me know what day to pull the plug. Like I say, I think I'm on Friday was 20, Saturday's 20. I'm on day 22 right now. Andy says, I'll take your 44 and pass you my 11. No thanks. I don't know if I could. I'd probably have to just huddle down in the house and not do anything on 11-degree day. That's too cold for me. Tattooing Granny says 6 degrees in Muskegon, Michigan. Wow. My sister's in the Grand Rapids area, so they must be pretty cold too. Fawn says we're 22 degrees in Virginia. Burr. Practical Junk, 4 degrees here. Hello from Tennessee. Got to check waters 4 times a day. Yeah, that's the one bad thing about, cold weather like that is, especially if you're keeping animals. Andy says, I can't help you. I've hatched chicken for about over 20 years or longer. Wow. Yeah, I haven't hatched them that long, but it's been probably a good 15 years since I actually hatched out chickens. So I'm kind of going along with what I do with quail, to give me an idea. Carl says, hello, everyone. Glad you could join us, Carl. There's our moderator, Double R Farms. Good morning, everyone. Glad you could join us, Carrie. Andy says, I'm excited for the Tuesday live. Yeah, that's going to be a good live, guys. Michael and Rebecca always have, good information that they share with you. So if you're interested at all in celadons, make sure you catch this one. Even if you're not into celadons, check it out. They always, they'll answer questions pretty much on any topic that's quail related. So yeah, join us. Carrie says 18 degrees in central Alabama. Burr. Andrew Evans says, I just barely got out of bed myself. I was up at 6, but I didn't crawl out of bed till after 7 because I got up, used the bathroom this morning, and thought, I'm going to lay down for another 10 to 15 minutes. And it was just so warm. I thought, I'm staying here. Don says 24 degrees here in South Mississippi. Burr. And he says, I was about to message you. There's Mary. Good morning, Mary. Glad you could join us. Says good morning. Just a little late. Nah, you're okay. Let's see. Andy says good morning, Mary. Don says, was 24 this morning in South Mississippi. Wow. That is chilly. Mark says, I've been fighting frozen water for a week in Arkansas. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of posts about that on all the groups. Everybody's, trying to figure out what to do. One post I saw that I thought was pretty interesting. If you've got like an aviary type setup, there was one post, somebody had a old crock pot that they put out there and set the setting on warm or on low, and it kept their water from freezing, and the birds, had drinkable water. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But then they had a bunch of people jump in on it and say crock pots weren't meant to, run round the clock like that. But I thought they were. I thought you put something in a crock pot, you put it on low, you let it go 8 or 10 hours, and it's good to go. So, and you could emptied it out and just, I would think that, as long as they had water during the daytime, you could shut it off and not worry about it at night. And then in the morning, turn it back on, fill it back up again. Anyhow, Clifton says, good morning, everyone, from a chilly South Mississippi. That seems to be the pretty common denominator to this morning, is everybody's kind of chilly. And he said, I stayed up many a little too late waiting. I think it's watching TV with my granddaughter last night. Yeah, I've done that before. I normally don't get to bed much before 11 o'clock. I got to, I do all my work during the day, and then I got a string of shows that I watch in the evening, MASH and Hogan's Heroes and that kind of stuff. So, talking to me. Bill says, good morning from cold and snowy Pennsylvania. Morning, Bill. Glad you could join us. I'm taking day 27 for some reason. Is that on the chickens? I thought they hatched out like on day 21 was the average. But I just don't know how long to give them before I pull the plug. I think I'm just going to, I've got more eggs that go into lockdown Monday, so I'll probably give the ones that are in there till Monday. If they don't hatch out, I'll just, pull the plug and lock down the new ones. Mary says, our temps are finally coming up. We are at 36.6 degrees. Yeah. I wouldn't consider that up, but okay, Mary, if you're happy with it. But I guess it's better than single digits. David's in the house. Says, good morning from Newport Richey, Florida. Glad you could join us. Got a few people in here from Florida this morning. Greg says, good morning from Illinois. Morning, Greg. Glad you could join us. GIS Herb says, I have Quirky Quail Homestead Celadon eggs going into lockdown today. Cool. Good luck on the hatch. Cookie, you got to move. You're hurting my back. Hold on, guys. I got a dog that... Are you comfy? Huh? Hope so. And he says, I'm thinking day 27 for some reason. Wow. If that's it, I got a ways to go. Beast's question, if different birds, chicken, quail, guineas, are raised together, will not be aggressive towards each other as adults. Any thoughts? I don't know about the guineas being in there, especially with quail. I'm not familiar with guineas, but I do know a couple people, and one lady in particular, she's got a really big aviary in her backyard, and she keeps all kinds of stuff in there. She's got chickens, ducks, quail, a couple turkeys, all in this big aviary. And she said they get along fine. She doesn't have any fighting. She's got a lot of furniture, hides and whatnot in there for them. So I would think, especially if they're raised up together, that you'll be fine. And if you do notice, one of the birds being aggressive, maybe call that bird or separate them. But I've seen more than one person keep multiple species of birds together, and they do just fine. GIS Herps is in Bama, Alabama. David says, hit the like button. Yeah, you guys, if you want to nobody's hit the like button today. That's terrible. I'm going to hit it just to get it started. There, we got one like. That's all that matters. Mark says, I go to day 24, and the chicks should be omit. Other chicks don't peck at it. Okay. that's what I'll do then. I'll give them to 24 then. I would have thought, see, I'm so used to doing the quail that, like I said, if they're not out of the egg by the end of day 18, I pull the plug regardless. I like, it's just the way I've been doing things. So I just wasn't sure with the chickens. So yeah, we can go. Let's see, day 24 will put me, I'm on day 22 now. That'll put me on Tuesday. So if I remember the live stream, B says, will they not be aggressive towards each other? It's hard to say. Like I say, B, you can try it. I would think, though, raising them up together, they will most likely be fine. But, all you can do is try it and and see what happens. Like I say, I don't know on the guineas because I've never kept guineas, so I don't know how they are. Bill says, went down to single digits here. Brr. If it makes it to 20, I'm going to check the ice on the lake. Bill, I forgot where you were, but I did see on the news last night a guy in Michigan up in Grand Traverse Bay. He went through the ice, and he had his dog with him, and the people on shore, I guess first responders, I don't know who it was, called the dog. They tied a rope to the dog's collar and had the guy call his dog. He brought the rope out to the guy that fell through, and then they pulled him out of the water and got him back to shore. So, yeah, be careful. I don't know. It's been so long since I've been on ice. I don't know, what's the recommended thickness before you want to go out there. But it seems to me like, especially in the part of Michigan that my family's from, they had a really late winter. I mean, I think the past couple weeks is actual winter. The rest of the time there was no snow and, decent weather. So I don't think the lakes had enough time to, really get frozen over. Clifton says, question, Mr. Terry, do you have the dimensions for the hatching boxes for the Terrybator or a video where you have built them? I wish I would have done a video because I never did. I had, quite a few people ask me that, but I just figured it was a simple thing to figure out. Well, the inside dimensions of the incubator are 16 by 18. So your box can be, up to 16 inches. I wouldn't go 16 or you're going to have problems hitting the sides. So 15 3/4 wide by, say, 17 inches deep. That should be fine. And then I was using a 1x3 for the sides. Clifton, I am thinking about putting together a kit for hatching trays for these new Terrybators that I haven't figured out quite how I'm going to do it yet, but I'm thinking of using foam, just like you do for the incubator, using foam for the outside rails, and then somehow incorporate either 1/4 inch hardware cloth on the bottom, or I've got these, I don't have one here with me right now, but I have these queen excluders that go on the beehives, and they're the perfect material to use for a top and a bottom of these hatching trays. I don't know what is going on in my throat. I worked out in the shop all last night. That must be what it is. So, like I say, anything, if you want to build your own, I would say 15 3/4 inches wide by about 17 inches deep and 3 inches tall. That'll give you enough room to put a cover over it so it, can still slide in between the rails. Double R Farmers talking to GIS. Jason says hello from Central Louisiana. Glad you could join us, Jason. James says, good morning. Love your show. Going to attempt to raise quail for the first time in South Louisiana. You'll enjoy it, James. I mean, keeping quail is, in my eyes, probably one of the easiest of the poultry birds to raise. And there's so much information about quail online. There's a lot of good groups that you can go to, and get your questions answered. So, yeah, cool. Good luck with it, and congratulations on keeping quail. Andy says, I don't remember chicken eggs. It's been so long. Okay, here Fawn says, I unplug on day 25 for chicken. Okay, well, that gives me something to go for. So, like I say, I got 3 out of 9 that haven't hatched yet. And I didn't know, I would have thought, okay, they all went into the incubator at the same time. They should develop at the same rate, but maybe on chickens they don't. Sometimes it takes a little longer. You're welcome, B. David says, my grandparents had a little poodle named Cookie. Yeah, Cookie, she's pretty cool. Let me get the microphone out of the way. Show your face there, Cookie. There she is. She's camera shy. We have actually 3 poodles. We have Cookie, Henry, which is our new male, and Tilly, my wife's poodle. Okay. Don says, I'm planning to build an incubator using a small wine cooler with an Inkbird PID controller. What do you think? Any advice? Yeah, they work. Wine coolers are perfect for, building an incubator out of. Just make sure, I don't know how big it is, but just make sure that your heating elements and your circulation fans, you got to kind of even them out. You don't want so much air moving that it's, one, drying out the humidity, but two, not circulating warm air. It's actually cooling the bulbs off by the air hitting it or whatever heating element you're using. But yeah, you'll have to play with it. I mean, I did when I first built the DIY box here on the channel. It took me 6 months to get it tweaked and tested before I ever released the plans, because I didn't want people, going out building the thing and then getting back to me and say, "Oh, that it doesn't work," or I lost a whole batch of eggs because of it, whatever. I got to refresh this page over here. I'm showing 24 likes here, so cool. Thanks, GIS Herps. Andy Rabbit says maybe it's Turkey Day. That's 27. It could be. I never hatched turkey, so I don't know. I can't read that one. Sorry. And he says, how long inside the incubator, small and large one? Andy, I don't know what you're talking about. Are you talking about the eggs? If you are, they're in by Lumia 16, the smaller Barado, and I only started out with 9 eggs, 9 that candled good out of a dozen, and like I said, they're on day 20. I think today is 22, or the end of today will be day 22. So it's actually 21 and a half, I guess. Jess K. Quail says, good morning, tuning in on vacation in Florida. You come down to Florida for some cold weather. Cool. Glad you could join us and enjoy the rest of your vacation. Modified Chevy says, good morning. Looking through past videos, I'm going to be building your incubator later today or tomorrow night. Cool. Congratulations. You have any questions? Let me know. The only thing I can say is once you get the incubator done, there is a separate video on adjusting the Inkbird specifically for that box. Make sure you watch that one because there are 3 changes in the Inkbird that need to be made, or you're going to have issues with the incubator. So yeah, just check that one out. I think it's if you search the channel for Inkbird settings, it should come up. Tony says, I want to get 2 Muscovy ducks to eat all the wasted feed I sweep up. I hear you. With Muscovies, you shouldn't have a problem finding them because everybody around here wants to get rid of the things. So. Not talking to me. Maury Straubel's in the house. Good morning. Morning, Maury. Glad you could join us. Mary says, I'm planning to start hatching again about the 1st of March. I have ordered the eggs, so I only ordered 30. I want to keep it smaller than in the past. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing, Mary. My numbers are going to be greatly reduced from what I had before. I basically just want to keep enough quail to supply meat and eggs for the family. And if I do run into some surplus, I got plenty of people local that will, take the eggs, whether I sell it to them or give it to them, whatever. But yeah, I'm doing the same thing. And it'll probably be, February sometime before I'm actually hatching again. Let's see. Modified Chevy says, I'll be sure to look it up. Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. As a matter of fact, I had somebody that asked me that same question on the Facebook group, and they were having an issue with the incubator holding humidity and holding heat. And right off the bat, I figured it was either they didn't use the correct fans or heat source, or they didn't make the settings in the Inkbird. And sure enough, it was the settings in the Inkbird. James says, oops, where'd it go? Should I start with adult quail or eggs? And if so, someone told me I should order my eggs before the spring. They might be hard to get. As far as which ones to start with, I've always recommended people start with eggs because one, it's a cheaper investment, and if you don't get a good hatch, you're not out that much money. But also you learn the whole process of, setting eggs, incubating them, and raising up the chick. If you start with adult quail, sometimes it takes a little bit longer for them to start laying, if you move them into a new environment. So it might take a while to start laying, but, eventually they're going to lay and you're going to want to incubate their eggs anyhow. So that's why I always say, start with the eggs first. It'll save you a little bit of money if things go south to begin with. As far as ordering your eggs before the spring being hard to get, you shouldn't have any problems regardless of when you order them. There are quite a few. As a matter of fact, we got a video here on the channel, recommended breeders. Jumbo Browns or Jumbo Pharaohs, whatever you want to call them, they're pretty much available all the time. When you start running into, some of the more specialized varieties, different color varieties, that may put a damper on, being able to get them right away. But yeah, watch that video. There's any one of them people on there I can recommend because I've known them and I know half of them I've gotten hatching eggs from. So let's see, where was I? Andy says, I'm asking how long inside from door to the back, how long of a tray basket can fit in it. Well, the inside dimensions are 16 by 18. So 17 and a half deep, I would think would be the longest. I made mine, I think that mine were 15 and 3/4 by 16 inches. Andy, I didn't know you had a DIY incubator. Did you build one? Mary says, I stopped my ladies from scattering feed by putting cut pieces of hardware cloth over the feed. Yep, a lot of people do that. And it does seem to help. I know with my hatching time cages, they come with a little plastic, I think they're 1 inch by 1 inch grates laid over the feed, and it does save a lot of feed because if you don't have that in there, it seems like they want to. It's always there's a better piece of food underneath the ones that are on top. So that's why they're digging down there, I guess. Tony says Terry Bader is on lockdown now. 2 days to go. Anyone need birds? Cool. Congratulations, and I hope you get a good hatch. Clifton says, thank you, Mr. Terry. I was also thinking about using foam for the hatching boxes, but was wondering how to attach the wire to the bottom. LOL. I was thinking about that. With 1/4 inch hardware cloth, what you can do is build your frame for the sides and then take that same glue that you assembled your box with, the PL 300 foam glue, run you a thick bead around that the bottom of the hatching tray, stretch your wire out over it, flatten it down, and then take some wood strips, just like you put on top of the rails. Take some wood strips and run it around there and just kind of maybe put something on it to hold them wood strips down. Let it cure overnight, and you've got a permanent attachment. That was one of the things I was thinking of, too. Is how am I going to, attach that? So, Mark says, have a great day, everyone. Need to get going. Not enough time in the day. See you Tuesday. Cool. Appreciate you joining us today, Mark. Mystical Cat says, hi, I'll just join in. Are the chicks strong enough to be able to use the vertical nipples? I watched your video about them to prevent leaking on the hatching time cages. I use the horizontal nipples. I changed out all my hatching time cages from vertical to horizontal. I think that's what you're talking about. But I usually wait till the chicks are about, 3 weeks old. About the time they come out of the brooder and go into a regular hatching time layer cage, that's when I would convert them from the regular type waters, the basin type waters, over to a nipple system. Even on some of the hatching time brooders, they have the little cups that's got the it's not the float that you peck to get water. It fills the cup up. When the float comes up, it shuts the water off. So I don't know if it's a matter of strength of them being able to get the nipples, but maybe more of a matter of they're not smart enough to associate, that shiny thing with water. I don't know. You could test it out and try it. I never did. Like I say, I always, in the brooders, I had the water basins and a quart water. And then when I transitioned them from brooder to grow out pen, then they would transition into a nipple system. James says, thanks. Absolutely, James. Not a problem. And Andy Rabbit says, me, no. I don't know what that means, Andy, but okay. Me, no. I know it was something to do with your last. Oh, you don't have the tray or the DIY box. Okay, well, that brings us down to the bottom of our list. It is 9:33, and that actually works out pretty good for me because, like I said, I do want to get out and shop. I got quite a bit of work out there I want to finish up today. We're actually doing some new projects. My sister up in Michigan, she does a lot of epoxy work and stuff like that. So I've been cutting out some stuff on the CNC machine, sending her the blanks, what I'm cutting out. She goes through and paints them and applies epoxy to them. And they look really nice. I mean, she made some end tables that have like the Detroit Lions logo on it or the Michigan State logo. And they look really, really nice. So let's see. Modified Chevy says, I've got the bulbs and sockets for the build. Have you ever used like a 300 watt PTC ceramic heating element? Also looking at the bigger commercial hatcher brooders, the automatic humidity control. No, I've never used anything that heavy as far as ceramic. The only thing in the DIY boxes, I do recommend that if people can't find the halogen bulbs or incandescents, which are getting harder to find every day, that you go and use the 75 watt reptile ceramic heaters. Those will work fine, but the one thing I can tell you about them is you need to fire up the incubator a good 24 hours prior to setting your eggs, because it does take those bulbs. One, it takes a while to get up to temperature, and also once they're up to temperature and the ink bird shuts off, they hold heat a lot longer. So you're going to notice that your heat is rising up a little bit farther than you want it to. Some people, started out with like, I think 125 watts. They were having issue with temperature getting too hot. So I said, well, try out with the 75. And I actually tested the 75s and they worked okay. I think the heat was peaking at about 100 degrees and then dropping back down to 99. But it seemed like to me, like once the heating elements turned back on, it took long. They seemed to run longer because the heating elements took longer to warm up. So all I can say is play with it. You're going to have to tweak all your settings and what you use for a heat source, how big of a fan to use, how many CFM the fans are. Once you get it tweaked, though, things seem to work pretty good. Another thing on that box you're using is make sure that you cut some vents into it, at least 2 vents that never get closed, and preferably like maybe 4 vents, so you've got a couple that you can close off if you need help with that humidity. Also looking at bigger commercial hatchers, brooders with automatic humidity control. I could tell you the best humidity control that I've seen out there on the market is in a hatching time incubator. They have they call it a Humisonic. It's a vaporizer that mounts on the outside of the box, and your regular, or not your regulator, but your sensor on the inside. Once that humidity drops down to a certain level, the humidifier vaporizes some water. It gets drawn into the incubator and brings your humidity up to where you want it. And the reason I think that works better than something that just pumps water into it is if you have a pump that's pumping water into the incubator and it gets up to the humidity level that you set and then it shuts off, all that water is still in the incubator. What's to keep it from, to keep climbing? And I've noticed that with some of my Barado units. I don't even use the humidity pump that comes with the Barados, just because, like I say, it pumps up until it gets to that humidity level, but then you notice the humidity keeps on rising because it's already pumped that much more water into it. So that's just my thoughts on it. Mystical Cat says, yes, horizontal is what I meant. I'm having issues with the brooder and grow out systems. Well, I mean, in the brooder, use those, they're little plastic quart water bottles. And make sure you get the small basin for quail. And a quart of water, I mean, unless you've got hundreds and hundreds of chicks, I would use a quart of water for like up to 50 chicks and, just change it out every day, and it did fine. And as far as in my grow out pens, I had 3 of the watering cups that had the nipples that they peck at. And I would also, I have grow out pens that have nipples in them, horizontal nipples. So I could kind of swap my birds around. I'd start them out on the cups, or I'd start them out on the water bottles. Then I move them over to the cups. Then I can move from the cups over to the nipples. And they seem to, I've never had a problem with them transitioning. But I don't know if I would try to introduce a nipple system to newly born chicks. I'd just be afraid that they're not getting water. The only thing I could recommend is just test it out and see what happens. Somebody texted me about Southwest game birds. David says, Bucks play Lions today at 3 o'clock. I saw that. I don't usually watch a whole lot of football, but I hear about it from my sister all the time. They're big football fans, and especially with Lions winning, or with Lions doing really well. So, yeah, that's one game I might have on in the background as I'm working, just to see what happens. Bill says, talking to Mystical Cat, says, I use Carolina Coops nipples from Denmark. The springs seem lighter than others, so my chicks are fine with them when they're a few weeks old. Yeah, I agree. Once they're, a few weeks old, when I say don't use them for the chicks, I'm talking from day 1 to say day 2.5. I mean, week 2.5 or 3 weeks. Then I would worry about switching them over. But yeah. Andy says, I've done a few test hatches for myself with no humidity at all. I've seen it drop to 10% humidity, still had an 80% hatch. As have I. I mean, when I'm hatching out quail, I don't even worry about humidity during the incubation period. I don't even look at it. I don't even have a hygrometer in half of my boxes. The hatching time incubator's got a hygrometer built onto it. But I'd never paid attention to it. And I would always add just one basin full of water when I go into lockdown, and it always seems to work really well. I think I always tell people, it depends on where you're at. If you're in an area where, it's really, really dry, yeah, you might want to use, a little bit of water during the incubation cycle. But, from where I'm at, I can get by without it. Modified Chevy says, yep, that's it. Ultrasonic fogger. Figured a USB fan to blow in one tube and exit into the incubator. Thanks. Absolutely. Anita Garrettson House says, oh, wow, I am late today. Hello, all. Glad you could join us, Anita. Andy Rabbit says, hello, Anita. Hey, Andy. And Bob's in the house. Andy, what's the ambient humidity there? Yeah, Bob, I don't know if you would be able to do a dry hatch. You're up in the hills, aren't you? Up in the mountains where it's pretty dry. So I don't know if you could get by with a dry hatch. But like I say, for where I'm at, dry hatches work perfect. GIS Herb says I tried something with my older birds, a bit outside the box. I have a lot of rodent water bottles left over from abandoned projects. They work great for quail. May try some babies on here soon. There you go. No poo. Yeah, that's. I've actually seen a few people myself that use the rat waters or rabbit waters they call them, and yeah, they seem to do just fine with them. John says, are there any tips on separating the males out of the grow outs and keeping to butchering size? Um, when I do mine, what I do is, usually around 2.5 to 3 weeks old, I pull all the birds out of the brooder, and that's when I separate them. Hens going or females going one box, males going another. But as far as raising up your meat pen or your roosters to butchering size, they'll do fine together, especially if you have birds that have been culled for aggression. You might notice, some of the roosters trying to mount the other ones. That's totally normal. It's just they're feeling their oats. But keep them out of earshot of hens and out of sight of hens if you can. If you can't keep them out of earshot, keep them out of sight. Like on a different level. Got hens up here. Keep the roosters down towards the bottom, and keep them a little bit darker. That seems to slow them down a little bit, from wanting to breed all the time. But I mean, I do it all the time. I'd have 100, 200 roosters in a big grow out pen, and they were just fine until I could butcher them. See, Andy talking to Bob says in the summer it's over 80%, but last week it was down to 10% humidity. Yeah, we ran. That's what I like about Florida. I mean, I hate humidity myself. I would prefer that it was a little bit lower, but the humidity levels down here are almost perfect for doing dry hatches. And it probably averages, I'm going to say 50% humidity during the summer. Yeah, rainy season, it'll jump up to 80 and 90%. But what do you do? Bob says I'm at 7,800 feet elevation. I have low ambient humidity. Incubators has been a struggle lately. Success in the past, but the last few have had low hatch rates. Yeah, I remember you talking about that, Bob. Bob, what are you using for an incubator? I mean, I would think, and if you do have a good incubator, then obviously it's an outside uh, force that's messing with your hatch rates. But I would think with a good incubator that can hold temperature and keep your humidity where you want it, um, you should have. I would think you would get decent hatch rates, especially if you've had them before. If you've had good hatch rates in the past, but now you're struggling, I think I would look more towards something with the incubator that's just not. Oh, Brinsley, that's a good one. The Ovation, yeah, that's a good one. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like right now, I kind of compare the Brinsies with the Baratos, as far as quality, and I've always recommended both of them. But I've noticed with this past month, because of the temperature difference, because it's been cold, the Lumia 16, the Barato, just doesn't seem to be keeping up, like it normally did. I got a temperature reading of 99.5 on the regulator, but I've got two hygrometers / thermometers in the bottom on each side of the box, and they're both about 99.1. Occasionally, when it's cooler in this room, they'll drop down to 98 point something, and I'm like, I actually bumped the humidity up, or not humidity, I bumped the temperature up on the regulator to 100 degrees just to get the ones down on the thermometers on the bottom to read closer to 99.5. So yeah, I don't know how well those plastic no insulation incubators do. Matter of fact, I wish I could show you guys. I've got 2 blankets laying over top of my Barado right now just to try to hold in some more heat. I don't know. I mean, the Barados do really well during the summertime. You know, when the room temperature is a little bit warmer. But I mean, I've even got a heater in here right now. I never run a space heater. I've got a space heater in this room to try to keep it like 75, 80 degrees in the room, and hopefully that'll help the incubator out. But I don't know. I might have to tear it apart and do a thorough cleaning on it. Maybe I've got an issue, fan not moving around enough arrow. Or see, Bill says, my Barado 16 is spot on during incubation, but I have to raise it a little bit for hatching. You know, and I was wondering the same thing, Bill, because I have 2 of the small thermometers that I set on the Turner trays or on the Turner rails when I'm in incubation, and it keeps the temperature spot on. But when you pull the Turner out and it drops and you put the eggs on the floor of the incubator, you just dropped your eggs 2 inches or almost 2 inches. And it seems like there's a pretty big difference in temperature down at the bottom. So that's why that's why I bumped it up. So yeah. I mean, I like the Barados. I've always had really good luck with them. But my hatching time incubator, the CT60, I don't have to do a thing to it. I just, plug it in, set the temperature and humidity I want, and forget about it until it's lockdown day. Yeah, Andy says, I don't trust plastic to hold heat good enough. I'm starting to lean that way too. It's thin plastic. And I never had, even with my DIY boxes, I've never had a problem with them holding temperature and humidity. So, yeah, I'm thinking these plastic incubators aren't a good option for, and it even says it in the manual. You want the incubator in a room that's temperature controlled. So, that's probably where I'm lacking. But, I could put my DIY boxes, they were out in the shop during the middle of winter, and they held temperature no problem. So, I don't know. Cam says, I put my incubator in a cooler. Oh, there you go. Bob says, I cover the incubator with a wool blanket except for the vent hole in front. Yep, that's exactly what I'm doing. I've got a nice warm blanket, and then I've got a towel on top of that blanket, and it's, like I say, it's doing the same thing. But 5 out of 9 have hatched so far, and I think I had one more hatch this morning, the one that still has the yolk sac attached. So, I mean, obviously they'll hatch, but I'm used to having all my eggs hatch like within a 24-hour period, within a day or 2 of each other. Now it seems like, and maybe it's just me because, I haven't done chicken eggs in a while. It seems like, okay, they started hatching on Friday. Today's Sunday. They should have all been done already, but maybe not. All right, guys, that brings us down to the bottom of the list, and now is 10 minutes to 10. So we're going to go ahead and pull the plug on this one. Thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. A lot of good information in there today. Mark your calendars. Don't forget Tuesdays, guys. This is going to be a really good, you bought a heater. Yeah, we did, Andy. It's a big space heater. It's not the ones, it's like a radiator type deal. It doesn't have the wires that glow. It's got a big radiator on it that heats up. But yeah, as a matter of fact, we've had that for a while. I forgot about it. Back when I used to build boats, I would have to keep the temperature up in the room when I was doing epoxy. And so I would crank that thing up before I had epoxy, and it'd warm the room up, and then I'd go ahead and lay my epoxy. So, but anyhow, yes, we do have a heater. All right. Absolutely, Bob. Appreciate it. Appreciate you joining us. Again, thanks, guys. Markdown Tuesday for the Celadon live stream. It's here on the channel, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's going to be a good show. So thanks for joining me, guys, and we'll see you Tuesday.